Welcome to lesson 1. We're going to have a look at some basic skills in here. Hopefully you've already read the book and you've checked out what's going to be in this lesson. And if you haven't, have a look at the book. It'll give you the psychology behind it as well, so the why we do what we do. And Major and I are going to show you some basic skills that'll be in your book there and help you through doing your homework cards that you'll have also. Okay, so your tasks that you'll do. So we're just going to run through some basic skills. First up, we need to be able to rub our horse all over. Make sure they're desensitised, that they're not afraid of things. So we'll just check them out. When you first start this with your horse, start with an easy-going horse to practice with first up. And then later on you'll probably want to bring through, if you've got other horses, you want to bring through those other horses then. But practice on one that's a bit easy going first up, and that'll get you through a lot quicker. And then the next time you come through, you'll be able to do a nice job for your horse. Okay, this is about people. This is a people learning program. Okay, so a lot of the tasks are set up to teach us timing and feel and build a connection with our horse. Okay, and to observe their body language. Okay, it does train the horse, yes, but one of the main things we've got to do is train ourselves first. Okay, first up, we're going to make sure that Major's not afraid of anything, so we're just got to rub him all over. Okay, now when you do this, try and stand alongside the section that you're rubbing, because some horses will let you rub up here if you're standing up here, but not back there. Okay, so I'll just come around this side so you can see a bit better. Stand over there, buddy. Okay, so this sort of thing. Okay, what you want to be able to do is rub, 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 and end up right back here. Now some horses might not like you back there, and when you start to come back here, they'll start to move around a little bit. If that happens, try and stay with them. There, Major. Stay in that section, even though they're moving around. Stay alongside this part of their body, keep rubbing until they stop. Once they stop, then you can retreat. It's when you retreat, it's when you reward that teaches the horse, okay? And as you've probably discovered, it's a release that teaches the horse, and that's what we're all about here in Quantum Savvy. Make sure you can rub them all over, both sides, and stand alongside the section you're rubbing. Get real good at this, develop a nice feel. Now when you're rubbing your horse, you've got to rub them like you love them, not like you're trying to sandpaper their hair off, okay? So that, you know, is not very loving sort of rub. So just give them a nice gentle rub, not one that you're scared of them, but a nice rub, okay? You'll get a feel for it. If you get real good at this, you should be able to rub underneath here and do such a nice gentle job that your horse will lift his tail up for you, just like that there. And that's a big sign of trust that he'll lift that up there. That's a good thing. Okay, that's the rubbing. Get good at that. Oh, also do the legs, of course. When you do this, make sure you have your rope over your arm, okay, and keep your vital parts pointing away from the horse. Okay, and also if anything goes wrong, you can go that way. Not saying anything will, but you just never know. Rub down here. If you've got a spot where your horse doesn't like being touched, like here, say, and you get down to here and they lift their leg up or move around a bit, start up here again, edge your way down there just before they move off again, retreat, approach, and retreat until they get good at that. Okay? Major's pretty good at that. Once you can do that, we need to be able to throw our rope over our horse, our strings, things like that, because one day we're going to throw our saddle over there. So we need to get them used to that. Okay. So here we're just going to, and this is an underarm one, sorry. So underarm over there. Very nice. And again, try and put your body alongside the section you're throwing the rope over. If they move off, try to keep throwing the rope as they're going around. It'll be a little bit challenging because the horse will be moving around. So have your rope a little bit short. And keep doing this until they stop. Okay, we'll just do the other side. Looking good. Now if they flinch a little bit, sometimes they just sort of flinch. If that happens to you, keep throwing that rope over until they stop flinching. Okay? And again, this we're going to be using our stick, so you need to be able to make sure that your horse isn't afraid of your stick. There'd be nothing worse than a horse afraid of this stick. Okay, because we need this to communicate. This is just going to help us exaggerate our body languages. So make sure that they're not afraid of it by rubbing them all over. You should be able to rub them in all sorts of places. Okay. Very good. Looks like he's done it before, doesn't he? Okay, stand over here a bit, buddy. Good. Now we're going to throw a string over here and get our horse used to this. Now this is very big, very visual. Some horses won't take to this too well. All the more reason to get good at it. Some horses will be afraid of the stick. Again, all the more reason to get good at it. Some people are afraid of the stick because they see it as a weapon. No, it's not a weapon. It should be an extension of your body. Looks good. You need to be above their personal space. You need to be able to do this nice and high as well, because one day your head's going to be up nice and high above them and they need to be able to handle things up there. Nothing worse than sitting on a horse who's trying to outrun your head. Stand up. Okay, looks good. Now when you're doing that, if your horse moves off, keep throwing that over. Also, try and keep some rhythm in there. I see this sometimes. People will do this and the horse will get a little bit scared and then they'll quickly bring it away. And then when the horse looks like it's about to relax, they'll quickly put it on again and the horse runs off again. Okay, so you end up scaring the horse more than anything. So if your horse does run off, try and keep your rhythm. Now it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but keep your rhythm as you do it, as they go round, okay? If they're starting to go a little bit fast, again, shorten up your lead rope a bit and try and help them out a little bit. Okay? Great. So that's desensitizing our horse. Now, some horses you come across sometimes, generally the ones with a little bit of Arab or something and a little bit of touchy type horse, they'll stand still, nice and fine, to have all sorts of things done to them. But they're actually sort of frozen on the spot, they're sort of braced there. Sometimes you'll see it, you'll get a horse, someone can crack a stock whip off of it, but it's not really desensitized, it's just sort of frozen to the spot. Okay? So to make sure you haven't got that happening with your horse, there's a little thing here you can just help just to find out. Just move your horse off a little bit. So I just gave a bit of direction, just walk my horse forward here a bit. And see if you can throw the rope over as the horse walks forward. See that? Takes a bit of coordination, of course. But if you're thinking, I'm not real sure whether my horse is relaxed, just walk them forward and see if they're still okay. Now, if they were sort of frozen on the spot, you walk them forward, you throw the rope over there, you'll find they'll run off. If that happens to you, again, it's when you quit doing what you're doing that teaches the horse. So if he runs off and you stop, you've taught him to run off. So if he runs off, keep desensitizing him. Try and slow him down by having a short lead rope, but keep desensitizing him until he stops. So I'll give you an example. Walking off, I throw my rope over, he runs off. Now I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to stay relaxed in my body language. Keep doing this, try and relax until he stops. Good. Some horses you might have to reward the walk, but ideally down to the stop, because this shouldn't mean run off. Okay, we're up to basic skill number 2, which is contact yield. It means yield the horse to pressure. Okay, so he's got to yield to contact. Now it could be contact with anything, your hands, your halter, later on when you're riding it could be your reins, your leg, anything that puts physical pressure on the horse. We need to teach them to yield to that. Okay, now remember, when you do this, the goal is the release part, because that's what teaches the horse. Okay, so we need to make sure that we start with the horse being comfortable, which is the no yield part, so the horse shouldn't be afraid of your touch. And if they're not afraid of it, then you can communicate. Okay, so here I'm going to ask my horse to back up. And put my hand on his nose here, and first thing I'm going to do is lift my body language, and he goes backwards. And then I'm going to put some pressure on his nose. Okay, now I'm going to relax my body language, relax the pressure on his nose, relax my body language, and he stops. But notice that he hasn't escaped my feel. It's real important when you get these horses nice and light that they're not escaping your touch. Okay, we want them to stay there with that feel. Okay, you don't want to hop up there later on and put your leg on your horse and have him run away from it. Same with the forward there, so we're just asking him with the halter to come forward, and it's a contact yield. Now when we're going through these what we call phases, we have to be aware of going through in increments. Okay, so phase 1, 2, 3 and 4. Alright, after 4 we'll come back to phase 1. If it doesn't work, come back to phase 1. Okay. Now Major's not a real heavy horse, but imagine if you had now I don't mean heavy like in weight, I mean heavy like in yields. If you had a horse who didn't want to yield and you were pushing on here and he's, oh gosh, he's heavy, you know, and it's not working, you get to phase 4, don't get any heavier, okay, because I really don't want you using your strength in this. It's not about strength, it's about feel and timing. If that doesn't work, then come back to phase 1 again and go through your phases again. Now phase 1 is the hair, and then you'll press the hair down to the skin, and then so that's phase 2. Phase 3 would be the flesh and the muscle, and phase 4 is real hard. It's like squashing that muscle and pushing down towards the bone there. Well, imagine. Okay, so it's pretty heavy. If that doesn't work, come back to phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 1, 2, 3, 4. Horses are pretty smart, they'll see the pattern in that. They don't want you pushing on them, they'll take the light phase eventually. If you can, when you reward the horse, try and reward on a light phase rather than a heavy phase, and you'll find your horse will get a lot lighter. Okay, that'll take a bit of practice and it'll take a bit of feel and timing, but that's what we're working on here in this foundation program, is your feel and your timing. Okay, so that was our backwards. Here I'm going to do the 4 quarters, so I'll just get this rope up over his back here. Now I'm going to have this, try not to hold him back with your halter, try and do it all with your hands. So I'm going to put my hand on the side of his nose, one on his shoulder here. I'm going to point him in the direction I want him to go. Just tip his nose a little. Alright, I'm going to put some pressure on here, phase 1, and my body life up. Over he goes, I release, rub. That was nice. We'll do that again. Phase 1, so my body language and squashing the hair. He goes forward a little bit. I just put my hand on his nose just to ask him to go back a little bit. Be important to do the backwards first. Okay, so his step there. So that's another step. When you're first doing this, just break this down into step by step until you can get around about half a circle at this level. Okay, so I'll show you how to do a few in a row. 1, release. 2, release. 3, release. 4. Good. Go all the way around, buddy. Half a circle there. Good. Okay, we'll come back the other way. And after we did that, I gave him a bit of a rub as well. Remember, rub them like you love them, not like you're trying to sandpaper them. Tip his nose in the direction. This is real important. I see a few people sometimes, they get hold of this nose here, they point it this way, and then they push the shoulder around. And what that'll do is it'll upset the curve of your horse later on in your riding stuff. Okay, so the tip of the nose is real important. Now the tip of the nose isn't the yield either. That's just the position. It's when your body life comes up that they should step. Okay, here we go. Step, release. There goes the back end, so I need to get the weight back a little, then across. Step, release. Step, release. Good. Alright. So that's our 4 quarter. If the back end spins around a little bit, get the weight back and then the front over again. You'll find if their weight's on the front end, that their back end will spin around a bit. And this, you know, we need to fix this here now on the ground, because when we come up to riding, you don't want the front to come across ask the front across and have the back end spin out, because that means they're not using the hind, which will upset again your impulsion and your collection later on in your riding. Okay, so that was our front end. For our back end, I'm just going to ask him to again flex this way a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, try not to pull on this to get your hind quarter yield. And I'm standing in line with the hind. I'm going to go through my phases here. Okay, here we go. Phase 1, 2, release, step, release. Good. Now some horses will step, when you push on their hind, that front end will come at you. Maybe if we can we get that on the camera there? I'll just see if I can get Major to do it. It's not what I want. There, see that front come over towards me? There again, and there again, okay? Now what that means is, yes, he's yielding his hind, but he's stepping in my personal space with his front end, and there, I don't know whether you got that last one, but he just again stepped in my personal space. But this is just a nice polite way of saying that he still wants to be in charge. Okay, so we've got to keep an eye on things like that. So if he does that, try not to reward that one. Don't give him a hard time about it. Gee, I better fix that one, because Major had the last say there, and he'd quite like that. So we better finish on a good one. So I'm going to do this again. Here we go. Body life up, phases of contact here. There he steps. Nice, that was a nice one. There goes that front end again. So I've got to go again. Not bad. Not bad. There, that's a good one. Oh, he stepped at me at the last one. I've got to go again. There's good. Don't you step at me. That's good. That's good finish. Good. So that last one, the one that I rewarded, he didn't step his front end towards me, and we've got to keep an eye on little things like that. In your homework cards, there'll be a few tasks for you to do, like leading by the nose and picking up their legs. I'll just move him over here a bit. Come over here, Major. Leading by the nose is a great exercise for teaching us feel, especially if we're going to be riding with reins later on. We're going to have good hands. So when you come to doing leading by the nose, make sure you can rub your horse's nose first, of course. Hello. And then we're going to ask them forward. Now generally most horses, when you're first starting out, if you just ask them straight forward, they won't go. That's what you'll find yourself, pulling on their nose. So what you might have to do is just bring them around here a little bit. Now again, watch out that front end doesn't step towards you. And what we want is the back end to move away from us a little bit as we're asking them forward. And sometimes some horses you actually got to, oh, there goes that front end. And as he steps, we're going to walk it forward. There we go. Good, he's going along nice. I've just got my hands on there. I'm going to relax my body language and ask with my hands, ask him to come down to a halt. If you get real good at this, you could even do backwards from alongside them. So we'll do this again. Forwards, so body life and your phases of contact there. He says no. He's just experimenting. When they do that, you don't need to increase your phases, because he already understands that there's discomfort. If that happens, just hang in there until they go, oh, okay, forward. Okay, that's good. And then relax my body language. Ask him to back with my contact. Piece of cake. Make sure you do that both sides if they get a little bit stuck. So curve them around this way. You can also curve them this way to get them started if they're really stuck. Now when you come to picking up their legs, again keep this rope over this arm, so if you need to you can adjust the length of the rope like this. Okay, so it sort of like gives you 3 hands. And keep your belly button facing away. Okay. Reach down, rub your way down, and what we'll do is we'll just squeeze just around about the knee here to cause a little bit of discomfort. And as soon as they pick it up just a little bit, you release. Okay. The goal is to give them comfort when they pick up that foot. Okay, so you'll reach down, you'll ask them to pick it up, and they'll pick it up for you. Okay, we'll do this back one here. Stand up straight, mate. Good. Now when they pick it up, if you're going to do some work here, rest your elbow on your knee and just help take the weight of that there rather than use your back. Okay, you'll find if you're down here using too much strength that it makes the horses a little bit nervous if you're down there with all your muscles powered up going on their back leg. Okay, because they do know we're predators really. Okay. Oh, for some horses, when you're trying to pick up their legs, they're like real braced in their legs and they'll just sort of jam them down on the ground there. Now for those sort of horses, make sure you can get your back up really good with contact. And when you're down here and you ask them to pick it up and you go through your phases, 1, 2, 3, and if they're still really stuck, just use your lead rope here to back them up just a little bit. And as they go backwards, they'll lift their leg up and you'll say, good boy. And they'll start to see the association in it. Okay, so it'll be like a phase. So use the back up like a phase. Another great little exercise in our contact yield, and it's in your homework cards, is to ask your horse to lower your head. Now it's pretty easy when there's a bit of grass down here. It might be harder to keep them up. But some horses, they'll sort of get into this position to where they just sort of lock in a bit of a sleep position, and you ask them to lower their head and you'll be out here doing your phases and they'll get a bit stuck. Okay, so ideally what we want is to be able to use our feel, ask our horse to lower his head from the pole, which is a vulnerable position for the horse, and you would have read about that in your book. So we're going to put our hand up here, make sure we can rub up here first up. Right now. Okay, phase 1, 2. Now see, he's a little bit stuck there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring his nose around to the side, and what you'll find is their head goes down a little bit easier when you just put a little bit of flex in there. Okay, now to get their head back up, try not to have your head over the top of their head. Just put your hands both sides and just give it a bit of a squeeze here till that pops up. Good boy. Up, mate. Yeah. The up's harder than the down today with the grass. We're up to basic skill number 3 now, which is a no contact yield, which means to yield your horse without contact. Okay, and when we're doing this, we've got to make sure we've got the other 2 basic skills working first. That way we can make sure that the horse is yielding, not actually escaping. For some horses it's a real fine line. We think they're doing a beautiful yield, but what we find later on when we take the lead ropes off of them is they're actually escaping. Okay, and it'll upset our impulsion and our connection with our horse. So we be real careful of that. So the way you're going to tell the difference is how well the horse stops after the yield. Can you stop the horse really well after the yields? And again, here we've got to make sure that we're using our body language first, not our tools. So if you've got a stick, make sure you're using your body language first. It's real important here with this no contact yield that our horses are going from our body language. If we use a stick, it should be reinforcing our body language. So I'll use a stick here just to so we can see what it looks like. You should be able to do this with and without the stick. If the stick feels a bit foreign to you when you're doing this sort of thing, you can start out without the stick, but get good with the stick. You're going to need it. It really helps be subtle and more accurate later on, so get good with your stick. Okay, here we go. We'll do the back up first. Now when we're doing a back up, if you're going to be waving your stick at your horse, have it go crossways, okay, so he can see it in both eyes. Okay, rather than down here, which is a blind spot, and he won't know that's waving around until it taps him on the chest. And that'll, with some horses, they won't take too kindly to that surprise. So here we go. We're going to ask him to back up. I'm going to lift my body language, start waving my stick a little bit. So you're going to have to go through your phases here again. So I'll just look at you guys. Phase 1 is lifting my body language and just moving my stick just a little bit. Phase 2 is getting bigger. Phase 3 is real big. And phase 4, you can even start have that stick make a bit of noise and get real big there, and you could even start tapping that rope if you've got a rope there. Okay, so we'll do that. I don't think Major would stand there for that long. And after that, if you've got a horse who just stands there and goes, no, 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 you know, don't keep getting bigger, just go back to phase 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as he goes backwards, try and finish with a phase 1. You'll get a nice light horse out of that, rather than the horse that goes backwards from phase 4. Okay, you ready? You awake? Wait. Right. Phase 1, 2, good. And I've got to relax. Now here's a little thing for you if you want to get real good at this. Now this might be, you know, if you're just first starting out, this might be a little bit challenging, but just, I'll give you this little tip and see if it helps you out, see if you can get good at it. When you're first starting here, phase 1 is your body language. Just hang on that phase 1. Here I'm going to have to increase because his legs haven't gone. Now just as he's going backwards, I'm going to keep him going backwards on phase 1 just for that last step. So just for that last step he did, I was just wiggling my stick just a little bit and he finished on that. The phase that you finish on is going to be the one that teaches your horse. See if you can get that timing real good. Now what a lot of people do, or some people do, is you'll get back and you have a horse, you go phase 4 and he goes backwards and they release. Okay, yes, we got him to go backwards, but it was phase 4 that did the backwards, and you know, if you release on that, then you're going to have to do phase 4 next time probably. So see if you can finish on phase 1. Alright, that's the backwards. Make sure you can bring them back in, rub them, and have them not afraid of that stick as well. Now depending on your horse, will depend on whether you do front end first or back end first. But how about we start with the back end, because that's something we really need to get good control of. On this one. Okay, so I've got a little bit of flex on him. I'm pointing towards his hindquarters. I'm bending in the middle and waving my stick at his backside. He moves out the way. I change my body language. Smile. Go give him a rub. See that foot treading me there? Goodness me. We'll do that again. Yield, relax. I'm watching that foot. Get your shoulder out of my space. Okay, we'll try that again. Because what I want to do is get one where he doesn't tread his front end at me when I do the hindquarter yield. Pay attention. Hindquarter yield, I'm going to go a few steps here. Relax. Rub. He hasn't stopped, so I'm going to go again. And relax. Rub. Good, good, that's better. Ah, you did the leg again. Okay, let's do that again. Ready? Good, relax, rub. Now I'm watching that front end. That was better. Good, so I give him a rub. I'm in the position that I did the yield. I finished in the same position. You're a cheeky little horse, aren't you? Alright, here we go. Body language. A little bit of a stick wiggle. Looking at his hind. Relax. Rub. Excellent. Nice stop. So he watched my body language, and that's what we're doing here, is teaching the horses to watch our body language. To do that, we have to be in control of our own body language. Okay, we're going to do the front end here. Now, come on here a bit, mate. Over a bit more. Just position ourselves. Right. Got the lead rope in my left hand in this case, and the stick in my right. Okay, so I'm going to use this for my brakes if he goes forward. So if he goes forward too much, just going to point that backwards. Okay, here we go. Body language. I'm going to wave this towards this area here. Ask him to get out of my way. Once he starts going out of my way, I can relax a little bit. Give him a rub. Good, we'll do that again. When you're first doing this, you can just go for one step, like that. Good. And get good at going through your phases. Okay, so going through your phases is your body language, moving your stick a little bit. As soon as he steps, relax. See if you can stop him good as you can start him. Alright, now for our forwards, try and do this from alongside the shoulder. I'll come over this side so you can see. And for this I'm going to have my hand pointing this way, so this here I'm on his left, so I'm going to have the rope in my left. And I'm going to do this from alongside the shoulder. This is more of a dominant position on our part. That doesn't mean you never drive your horse forward from here, but when we first start out we'll do it from here. Okay. We want to go forward. I'm going to lift my body language up, point in that direction, and if he doesn't go I'm going to wave my stick, and if he still doesn't go I'll tap him on the bum. After he goes, relax and just walk off in that direction. Okay, you want to stop, slow your body language down, use your lead rope. If he still hasn't stopped you might have to use your stick. Some horses will really go forward, and what you have to do with those is yield their hind to stop them, and rather than finish up here, try and come back here to give them their rub, okay, if they run off. Ex-race horses tend to do that a bit, so we'll do that again from this side. And get the rope over, when you're going forward, have that rope over that way. Okay. Hang on, we've got to do the phases. You ready? He read my mind there, he sort of walked off. You ready? Body language. Now here he's coming across in front of me a bit, so I had to use my stick. I'm going to focus in that direction. Here I'm going to relax, use my lead rope a little bit if I have to. And here I might just do a back up just for fun. So point my lead rope backwards and wave my stick. Fantastic. Okay, so that's our forwards and backwards. Left, right. Now up and down. We're just going to do a leg. Now in the no contact yield we use a thing called rhythmic pressure, which is what we went through with our phases. So we start off small and get bigger. Okay, so that's rhythmic pressure. And you'll see that in your book. So we're going to do the leg for the up and down. Make sure you can rub it first. And then we're going to use our rhythmic pressure, which is a bit of a tap. Now you can do it out here first up and get bigger. Now if he doesn't listen to that, oh good boy, give him a rub. Okay, we'll do that again. So I go through my phases here, getting bigger. If he doesn't listen to it, I'll start tapping him on the leg here till his leg comes up. Give him a rub. Down part's pretty easy. Good boy. Get really good at that one. See if you can get that really light. This will lead to something down the track in the program, and it'll become what we call a cue, and you know, you'll be able to do some fantastic things like Spanish walk and laying your horse down later on. So it all starts here. But the main thing we're using it for at the moment, besides doing some fancy little tricks later on, is I want you guys to be good at your timing and your feel and your timing and your release. Okay, that's it for our no contact yield. That's basic skill number 3. Remember to use your phases, body language first, light phases. If you can, time it just right, so when you finish on a nice light phase.